Hello everyone, Storm11 here. Today we'll be talking about a possibility for a derecho that might go on across parts of the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, and the Midwest. Yeah, derecho has become pretty possible, and this is going to be happening tomorrow evening into Thursday morning. And there's also we got a chance for severe weather today across parts of the Midwest and Northeast. And then on Thursday, you get a chance for severe weather across parts of the Midwest and the Laurel Valley, which SPC just mentioned. There might be a possible upgrade there, but we'll get to that in a moment. But let's first start out with today here. We got two slight risk areas. You got one across southern Minnesota and southwestern Wisconsin and far northeastern Iowa. And then you got another slight risk across parts of pretty much going through south central New York State, and then he goes into parts of Massachusetts, and then southern Vermont and New Hampshire as well. Tornado threat, we're not really expecting any tornadoes today, but damaging winds will be the primary threat across the Northeast. But the hail threat will stay back across the Midwest, where we do have some decent lap rates to work with, and also quite a bit of instability to work with as well. Things start to change big time tomorrow. We got an enhanced risk for severe weather across central Wisconsin that might get expanded. There's a chance it might get expanded further to the southeast, maybe over Lake Michigan to parts of Michigan. But that's a possibility at this time. But we do have the slight risk from far eastern Minnesota that stretches all the way down to southern Michigan. And this is going to be an overnight threat as well, especially when you get down into parts of Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio. Some places will probably be in the early morning hours. And that'll be becoming more focused across these areas right in here. Will be more of early Thursday morning, which I may have mapped here at the timing and what the areas we need to watch for this potential. There is a decent tornado threat, a 5% chance of a tornado in a 25-mile radius of any given point. There's going to be a lot of wind shear to work with. Damaging winds will be your biggest threat. You also do have the hail threat as well within some of those storms, especially when they first form. They might have a large hail threat, given the fact we do have some pretty good lap rates out there, and plus we got a lot of instability as well. And then on Thursday, that risk shifts further to the south here. More focus across parts of the Missouri Valley, into parts of the Ohio Valley, to parts of the Appalachian Mountains there. And plus, you got that marginal risk across parts of Colorado, Nebraska, and Wyoming as well. And again, SPC does mention that slight risk might be coming across parts of the lower Ohio Valley as well. And we'll be taking a look into that as well. So let's go ahead and get started with the Her model here on this latest run of the 12Z run. And as you can see here, as we kind of go into later today, we may get some isolated storms. That some of those could be severe across parts of southeastern Minnesota and to parts of Wisconsin and northeastern Iowa. Not going to be too big of a deal there. I will be concerned with the hail threat, which might do some damage out there, unfortunately. But as we kind of get into Wednesday, which is tomorrow, does show some convection going on out there, so that might limit how unstable the atmosphere could be. But it doesn't really matter a whole lot in this situation, unfortunately. The way how the Her handles this is then you kind of get this decent cluster of thunderstorms that moves quickly to the southeast here through Wisconsin and eventually into parts of southern Michigan, northern Indiana, and northwestern Ohio, even into parts of northeastern Illinois as well. Might have to deal with this potential. And eventually, as you kind of get into the early morning hours, it starts to die down when it gets into central Ohio. And this is where we kind of get some of those absurdities. It really depends on how much instability is out there. If there's not a whole lot of instability out there, the storms won't last that long. If there's quite a bit of instability out there, the storms could last a little bit longer. There is a quite a bit of instability further to the southwest, but given those upper level winds, it should continue to the southeast here. So that's kind of the max of that run there. Let's check out those 850 millbar winds. That kind of gives us an idea how strong those winds could be up there. And sometimes those 850 millbar winds can get down to the surface. It happens sometimes. And as you can see here, with this possibility of a derecho here, or this potential derecho, look at green. You got pretty decent winds out there. You got at least 50 plus knots going on out there, which isn't bad. Which is about 55, maybe close to 60 miles per hour. I think that's going to be a little bit underdone there. But look as it kind of reaches into parts of southwestern Michigan and northern Indiana. Check that out. That's 65 to 70 knots. That's close to significant wind territory out there. And then you can see how it moves into parts of Ohio into the early morning hours. And you still got pretty decent 50 to 60 knot winds going on across parts of Ohio. So some severe wind gusts is still possible as it gets into Ohio into the morning hours on Thursday. And then the focus will shift back to the southwest out here for Thursday there. We'll check out and see how much stability there's going to be out there. We'll check out some of the soundings as well. There's going to be plenty of wind shear for these storms to cluster up, so I don't think there's going to be too much of an issue with that. And I would say that the malls that don't really have it cluster up that much or shows a broken line as storms, I have high doubts on that. And I don't think it's going to be a pretty accurate picture. So let's check out later today here from the HERM model across southern Minnesota where we do have that hail threat. And as you can see here, since we do not have a whole lot of wind shear to work with, that's going to kind of help that hail threat increase a little bit. But you do have some pretty good lap rates out there, so that's definitely going to help that hail threat. You have some stronger updrafts out there. Downdraft Cape is 1500, so that's favorable for damaging winds, plus you got plenty of instability as well. So this is a pretty decent environment here for some large hail. And maybe some damaging winds as well. The tornado threat is going to stay very low because the wind shear is not really favorable for tornadoes. But let's move on into parts of Thursday. And this is kind of all over the place, really. But let's kind of check out central Wisconsin where we do have some of the best confidence here. And as you can see here, there's plenty of wind shear to work with. There's actually a lot out there. I mean, check out 3 kilometers or kilometers. And you can see our energy helicity index of 10.4. It's pretty high there. You also got some pretty strong 800, 500 millbar winds. So you got a strong northwest flow. You got a pretty decent hodograph. So this is a pretty decent environment for tornadoes here. That's why we got that 5% chance. And check out some of these lap rates here. It ain't too bad there. And you also got downdraft Cape of 920, which is favorable for damaging winds as well. And then you got that dew point line and temperature line spread out at the surface, so definitely something we gotta watch for. It's for damaging winds, maybe some hail, and maybe some tornadoes out there across parts of Wisconsin. And then you kind of see how this kind of tracks here. 7Z on Thursday, your cluster of thunderstorms is somewhere right here. And there's still a decent amount of instability out ahead of us. That's 2,000 plus in the middle of the night, which is pretty interesting. And as you can see here, it does show a pretty big cap there, but with that frontal boundary, some of those storms might be able to make it through that cap. We'll see what happens there. Maybe if we go a little bit further to the east there, where the model does predict, where the storms have been going through, it does show a much weaker cap here than what the other one had. And it ain't terrible sounding either. Downdraft Cape though is still pretty. That's actually pretty impressive for over 9 hours. 1100, almost to 1200. Downdraft Cape. That's pretty impressive there for overnight hours. That's kind of why we're going to have that damaging wind threat kind of go for the overnight hours because the downdraft cape is still going to be quite elevated. Despite of having low of lap rates gone, you still got that downdraft cape there. So there's still going to be some strong downdraft winds from those storms. Plus, mid-oval lap rates isn't bad either. And you also got a decent amount of wind shear, so the severe weather threat is still there for the overnight hours across parts of northern Indiana, predicted by the HER model. And then we're going to see maybe later today we might be able to see what will be happening on Thursday across parts of the Lower Ohio Valley around that point. Let's check out the high-res NAM. It does the best for environmental conditions out there. It's the best for it, but it's not the best for reflectivity, but it does pretty well with the environment wise. It has done pretty well this year. So let's kind of check this out here. We'll go back to later today. Let's see what it's got. If it's going to load, here we go. So this is what we got here. And you can see here, not a whole lot of wind shear. It's a little bit stronger with the wind shear than what the HER had, but it's still weak either way. A little bit on the weaker side. But plenty of instability to work with. Plus, this elevated mix layer is definitely going to help that hail threat as well. It also means there could be some discrete cells out there, which means scatter cells. You also got you also got some decent middle lap rates there. And also downdraft cape is 1400. And there's also, again, plenty of instability. So this is a favorable environment for large hail and also for the chance for damaging winds when you kind of get those downdraft winds kind of going, especially when they start to die out. Let's move on to Wednesday. It shows a pretty much a different story. Check out all that instability that's down in northern Illinois. Check that out. That's a lot going on down there. And let's get a couple soundings here. Let's get this one right here. Kind of on the leading edge of those storms. What's kind of going on out ahead of these storms? It does show an area of 5,000 joules per kilogram at the surface. Oh, wow. All right. Wind shear is pretty weak, though, in this area, which is very interesting. But you do have a pretty decent signal here either way for some damaging winds. Plus, you got the dew point line, temperature line is spread apart at the surface there. This is also an indication of damaged winds. Plus, you got a pretty strong elevated mix layer going on here. So that's definitely going to help those storms kind of build a little bit better. Plus, there's plenty of instability out there, so that's pretty much a damaging wind sounding than a hail, or, well, you might get some hail out of the sounding, but the tornado threat will stay low. I'm sure we have to go a little bit further to the east here, kind of where some of the wind shear's at. So let's check out and see what's going on in central Wisconsin, or east central, I should say. See what the higher stab does show. If it's going to load for us today. Alright, here we go here. As you can see here, there's also a cap here, which is not favorable for severe weather, so that might become an issue here on this setup here, but there is quite a bit of wind shear to work with, and there's also a decent amount of instability. Plus, check out those mid-overlap rates. It's kind of on the strong side with those mid-overlap rates, so that's definitely going to help those storms build. But with that lack of low overlap rates, it's probably not going to blow for that cap there in the low levels. Maybe when those cluster of storms get there, that cap might weaken a little bit. And some of those storms might blow for that cap. But we'll see what happens there. I'm sure everybody's interested. What's the sounding in northern Illinois? We'll check that out and see what's got. Excuse me. A little bit tired this morning. Um, so this is what we got here. Downdraft Cape, that's 667. That's not great, but there's also a lot of visibility. 7,700. That's a lot of cape out there. But you get a pretty good combination of temperature and 2 points. That could lead to heat index values of close to 100 degrees there. With that dew point of 82, that's some pretty nasty stuff. Very muggy. But your lap rates are pretty favorable though, um, in all levels there. Also some wind shear to work with. So this will be a favorable environment here, mainly for maybe some strong winds here, maybe some hail out of those storms, but we'll see. That downdraft cape's a little bit low, however. And then you kind of see how your storms kind of continue further to the southeast here. We'll check, excuse me, we'll check out windy here for its mid-level wind. So we're going to check out 850 millibars, and this kind of gives us, kind of showing the winds are kind of in the low level jet of these storms. And sometimes these winds again can go down to the surface. And we'll see what it's got here. So 11 o'clock here. Check this out. Across south central Wisconsin. I mean, 78-mile-per-hour winds. And like I said, sometimes they could get down to the surface. It's happened before. As we moved on to 3 o'clock, this thing really moves. It's not wasting any time. 83-mile-per-hour winds. So you're talking about the possibility for some significant winds here. And as you move on to 6 o'clock in the morning, it kind of gets around to the Dayton area. You still got potential for some severe wind gusts, close to 60 miles an hour. Some places eventually it's going to fizzle out. As we kind of get into the afternoon hours, it's going to start to lose some steam a little bit. But 56, 55 mile per hour winds. It's bad. Then you're going to see some new storms form up to the north here. So we'll check that out. So I always check out the environment here first. You can see here where we're going to be thinking about where some of these storms are going to be forming. Probably somewhere in this zone in here. But check out all this instability further out west across central Illinois. Wow. A lot of instability going on out there. 5,700. Let's check out and see what's up out there. I guess while that loads there, let's kind of check out further down the road here. So you got like 5,000 to 5,500, some places to 6,000 across parts of Illinois. But so what some of the models indicate, looks like the better opportunity for storms might be a little bit further east from that greatest instability axis. And as we kind of continue through here, you start to see those storms start to blow up. And there's a lot of instability out there, so some of these storms could last for a while as well. Let's kind of check back into the sounding that was back across Illinois though. 8,600. That's that's a lot. That's the kind of extreme levels of instability. Let me tell you that much. Downdraft Cape is 1100. Lap rates is pretty favorable, so this will be a favorable environment here for maybe some large hail, but also for damaging winds. The tornado threat looks to stay low since the wind shear is going to be on the weaker side. So yeah, on that. And here it is across parts of central Kentucky here. And as you can see here, the wind shear is a little bit higher down a little bit further south, which is interesting. But you do have a pretty decent elevated mix layer at around 700 to 800 millibars, which is also interesting. And of course, the lap rates will be sitting on the slightly weaker side, but it's still favorable for some severe weather potential either way. 1100 downdraft case, so this will be a favorable environment here for mainly for damaging winds further south. Kind of out ahead of those storms there. You kind of see how those storms kind of continue further south, and then we're kind of at the max end of the run here. And check out all this instability these storms still have to go through. I mean, there's a lot out there. So places like Indiana, probably Ohio, to parts of Kentucky, even into parts of Illinois, definitely need to watch for these storms Thursday evening, eventually going to the overnight hours. We'll see what the hurricane will show in the next couple runs or so. But kind of going back here, showing some of those thunderstorms at 850 millibars. You do have some storms with 55, maybe close to 60 mile per hour winds. Some of those storms, so severe wind gusts definitely seems possible as well. We'll lastly check out the NAM here. And you see with that big cluster of thunderstorms moving across Wisconsin, eventually into Michigan here, we're still going to be pretty unsure how long this is going to last. Again, it's kind of have to depend on how much instability is out there. Plus, one meteorologist mentioned in one of my tweets that's also got to kind of depend on how warm the temperatures would be and how high the dew points would be. And there might be a chance it could last to the coastline. Yes, there is a chance for that as well. So definitely need to watch for that potential derecho. And you can see there it really amplifies quite a bit into a big squall line when it gets into Ohio Thursday morning. And eventually, into Thursday evening, some some of those places across Ohio may experience more storms again, like Columbus, Ohio, from the NAM shows another big cluster of thunderstorms forming. But you also got storms back across Illinois and Indiana. And eventually, these are going to get down to Kentucky and West Virginia into the overnight hours, and then we'll see what happens from there. Let's check out the surface space cape, though. You see here, it shows a lot of instability across northern Illinois. 6,000 joules per kilogram. That's a lot of cape out there. And as you kind of check out Thursday evening, it has that greatest instability further to the east here. You got a widespread 5,000 plus of cape, which is a lot of cape out there over a pretty large area. So we definitely need to monitor those storms Thursday evening as well, where they're going to be developing in some of the uh, in that very unstable atmosphere. So it's going to be very interesting to watch, even into Thursday as well. We definitely need to watch across parts of Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky, and even into parts of Missouri and West Virginia. And so those will be the states I will watch for Thursday. And again, as the SPC does mention, that a slight risk might be needed across the lower Ohio Valley. We're going to see how things will turn out for Thursday. We'll have a better idea as we kind of get closer to it. But right now, we only got two models here. Right now, at least for higher resolution models. We'll probably have a better idea of it as we kind of get into tomorrow. But here's my thinking here of the potential here on this derecho here, beginning Wednesday evening. It'll begin somewhere across parts of northwest central Wisconsin, eventually into overnight hours during Wednesday. It'll move through across parts of central and several Wisconsin, eventually to northeastern Illinois, and also get into parts of Michigan into early Thursday morning. It will arrive across parts of southern Michigan, northern Indiana, and northwestern Ohio. And really, after that, there's high uncertainty, especially when you get into parts of the Ohio Valley. There will be some high uncertainty involved, but there is a chance that it might get close, maybe all the way to the coastline. It's a possibility at this time. It's just got to really depend on how much instability is out there and how the environment's going to go. If the environment's not that favorable for severe weather, then it's not going to last that long. But if there is a pretty good environment out ahead of this, all the way to the coastline, yeah, it could make it pretty far, and it could definitely be considered a derecho at that point if it does create quite a bit of wind damage out there, which is also possible. But it's definitely something to watch here for now. But if you live across parts of Wisconsin, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan, definitely gotta watch for this potential of this derecho here. And even beyond that, even to parts of West Virginia, Pennsylvania, maybe into parts of Maryland, Delaware, maybe into parts of Virginia. Also have to watch this cluster of thunderstorms as well, especially when you get into Thursday. And also on Thursday, watch for these areas as well. But we'll see how the models will go out there very soon. But anyways, guys, this is all for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you already like my channel, hit that subscribe button. Hit the bell notification so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, leave it in the comment section down below. I'll answer you guys' questions. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.